Hello and welcome to Lovely English Stories. Thank you for stopping by. This story is written for upper intermediate English learners. Ready? Well, let's get started. B2 C1 English Story. Climate Change. In a town in the Midlands, a young girl named Abby lived with her parents. She loved spending time outdoors, exploring the woodland and playing by the river near her home. But lately, something strange was happening to her beloved countryside. The weather seemed to be changing, becoming more unpredictable and extreme. Instead of the gentle rains and sunny days she was used to, Abby noticed that storms were happening more often, with strong winds and heavy downpours. Sometimes the rain seemed to fall for days on end, turning the fields into muddy puddles and making it difficult to go outside and play. One day, Abby decided to ask her grandmother about the strange weather. Her grandmother explained that the changing weather was due to something called climate change. She told Abby that one of the ways climate change was caused was by people burning fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas, which released greenhouse gases into the atmosphere and made the earth warmer. As the earth warmed, it caused the weather to become more extreme. Heat waves became hotter, storms became stronger, and rainfall became more intense. Even though the UK was far from the equator, where temperatures were usually warmer, it was still feeling the effects of climate change. Abby was worried about what this meant for her town and the future. She knew that harsher weather could damage crops, flood homes, and harm wildlife. It could also make life more difficult for people living in coastal areas where rising sea levels could threaten their homes and livelihoods. She wanted to do something to help. So Abby decided to learn more about climate change and what she could do to make a difference. She talked to her friends at school about reducing their carbon footprint by walking or biking instead of getting a lift. And she spoke to her parents about using less electricity and recycling more. She also wrote a letter to her local council and asked them about renewable energy sources like wind and solar power, protecting the local woodland and other natural habitats, and what they could do to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Over time, Abby began to see small changes in her community. People started to think more about the environment and how their actions affected the planet. They planted trees, picked up litter, and worked together to adapt to the changing climate. While Abby knew that there was still a lot of work to be done, she felt hopeful, knowing that she wasn't alone in her efforts to protect the earth. Now, let's go through some of the vocabulary from this short English story. We'll start with the advanced vocabulary and then we'll move on to the B2 upper intermediate vocabulary. Let's start with woodland. Woodland is a large area covered with trees and undergrowth. For example, the woodland behind our house is home to many different animals. Beloved. If something or someone is beloved, they are dearly loved or cherished. My grandmother's old necklace is my most beloved possession. downpour. We have these a lot during the springtime in the UK, and this means a heavy rainfall. We got caught in a sudden downpour while hiking in the mountains. Greenhouse gases. These are gases such as carbon dioxide and methane, and they trap heat in the Earth's atmosphere. Burning fossil fuels releases greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Livelihood. Livelihood is the means of supporting yourself, and it's your source of income. Fishing is the livelihood of many people in coastal villages. Puddles. There are lots of these in the UK at the moment, and these are small pools of water, and they're usually on the road or footpaths. After the rain, the playground was full of puddles for us to splash in. Coal. Coal is a black or dark brown material or mineral, and it's a substance consisting of carbonized plant matter. It's found underground and it is dug up. People use it to burn fires, or they used to. We don't use coal as much anymore because it is bad for the environment. Many power plants still burn coal. We've added a Y on there. It should just say coal, not coaly. Emissions. Emissions are the production and discharge of something, especially gas or radiation. Car emissions contribute to air pollution. Habitats. Habitats are the natural environment in which an organism lives. This includes plants, animals, and other organisms that make up an ecosystem. So, for example, wetlands provide important habitats for birds, fish, and other wildlife. Carbon footprint. This is the total amount of greenhouse gases that are emitted, so put out into the atmosphere by an individual, organisation, a product, or an activity. For example, riding a bike instead of driving reduces your carbon footprint. Harsher. Harsher means more severe or unpleasant. The winters in the north can be much harsher than those in the south. Renewable. Renewable means able to be replaced or replenished naturally over a relatively short period of time. Solar and wind power are examples of renewable energy sources. Intense. Intense means extreme in degree, strength, or severity. The heat wave brought intense temperatures to the region. Now let's go through the B2 vocabulary from this short story. Adapt. To adapt is to adjust or modify in response to something. Animals in the Arctic have adapted to survive the cold weather. Affected, or to affect, means influenced or touched by an external factor or condition. For example, the crops were affected by the drought and failed to grow properly. Coastal means relating to anything near the coast, especially even the seaside, the seashore. Many coastal communities are vulnerable to flooding and erosion due to rising sea levels. This is happening more and more in the UK. Council. A council is a group of people elected or appointed to make decisions. The City Council voted to implement new recycling initiatives. Extreme. Extreme means reaching a high or the highest degree of something. It is very great. For example, the storm brought extreme winds and heavy rain to the local area. Harm, or to harm, means to cause physical or emotional damage or injury to something or someone. So, littering can harm wildlife and pollute the environment. Litter. Litter is waste material, such as paper, cans, bottles, and it is what is thrown away and left around in public places. please make sure you pick up your litter and put it in the bin. Muddy. If something is muddy, it is covered or filled with mud. After the rain, the path through the woods became muddy and slippery. Released or to release means to set free from confinement or restraint, to let something go or to let out. The factory released, let out, toxic chemicals into the air, causing pollution. Solar. Solar relates to anything to do with the sun or energy from the sun. Solar panels convert sunlight into electricity. To threaten. This verb means to be a danger to or to pose a risk to someone or something. Rising sea levels threaten coastal communities around the world. Unpredictable is the opposite of predictable, so it is not able to be predicted. Unpredictable is uncertain, something we don't know. For example, the weather in spring can be unpredictable, with sudden changes in temperature and rainfall. We hope you enjoyed this lovely English story. Thank you for stopping by. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Get productive and check out our language learning productivity packs and stories on Etsy. Don't forget to use code YouTube10 for 10% off. You can find the link in the description box below. See you soon!